Good morning, ATD family. Welcome to another rousing episode of Around the Diamond. We are coming to you with our first long show of the year. We're excited. We're extending the time. We're putting in more topics of discussion. It's going to be a wild ride as we take you through what's coming into baseball season. We got some great topics for you today. We're going to start the show off as we always do. Baseball Bill, how are you doing on this beautiful morning?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you, Sam. And thanks for all the hard work you put in. And if you're watching this on YouTube and not on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network, uh, the one on YouTube, you'll see all the slides. So I appreciate everything you do, Sam. I'm excited to announce that we are on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. AJ and the guys over there have been fantastic. So let's get the show rolling, my good friend.
We're not going to waste any time as the slides decided they wanted to take control of themselves this morning. First thing we're going to talk about is the recent induction of the 2025 Baseball Hall of Fame class.
Okay.
So, small class this year, three players, but there's some interesting topics around this Hall of Fame class that kind of shocked the baseball world.
Uh-huh.
I don't think what was shocking was the players that got in, but I think as we get into it, the fact that one of these three was not a unanimous pick was kind of a shocker.
Yeah.
So let's just run the table down on
Okay.
the if you're again as Bill said, if you're listening to us on Bleacher Brothers Radio, um you got CC Sabathia, Yankee through and through, 561 games played in his career, 251 wins, ended his career with a 3.74 ERA, almost 3,100 strikeouts. I mean, guy was insane. And I mean, having a whip of a 1.25 out of this world.
Mhm.
Out of this world. Bill, what was it that made CC just so dynamic and ruthless on the mound?
So honestly, his size, he comes at you, he throws hard. This was one
Mm-hmm.
that I expected to get in, Sam, but I'm not gonna lie to you, I did not expect him to get in until probably third or fourth ballot. But I'm happy that
Yeah.
he's in. But his size and his length. So most people think, oh gee, well, the I've got 60 feet 6 inches. Well, that's to the top of the plate to the rubber, right? Well, when you're CC Sabathia and you're as tall as this dude is, and you have such a wide
Yeah.
range, you're probably throwing it from about 58 feet, and it's coming hard. Dude's throwing hard. So,
Yeah. I mean, the thing I always remembered about CC's delivery was he had that long drag of his front foot out to the front of the mound
yep,
as he's whipping it down. And it, like you said, he literally took 6 to 8 feet away from what the pitch should be. So by the time he fully released the ball, he was already at 59 feet
yep.
from mound to plate. So, and it reminds me, there are two guys that reminds me of, and the first one I think you'll agree with me on. The second one, you'll probably be like, seriously, but just the way he delivers, it kind of reminded me of it. First guy is your guy, Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah,
Super long drag on his release,
yeah,
not something that, he's not taking a short step. He's really he's extending from the rubber to the end of the mound to really get that deep, to get that dive.
yeah, yeah.
The other one, Tim Lincecum, two guys that came in at
Oh,
the same time. But, Lincecum had that really odd turn. But again, long step, long stride out, just
Yep. Yeah.
added to his delivery to keep that going.
Yeah. 100%. No,
I mean,
I agree with you. I agree with
you
you. They
know, and there
both had
aren't many
very
guys nowadays that you see do it that way.
no, there's not. There's not. But um, I mean, CC's there. I think what kicked him over the top, to be honest with you, 215 wins. I'm sorry, 251 wins and 161 losses, a career ERA of 3.74. Having that strikeout over 3,000 to me, there's certain parameters I would say that when
Yeah.
you hit them, if there's no stuff in the background, steroids, major arrests, major, whatever's. Um, there's certain parameters. I think 3,000 strikeouts is all of it.
Oh, 100%. And it takes a long time to get there. I mean, look, he had an 18-year career between starting off in Cleveland, doing that 1 year in Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
Um, well, yeah, I mean, you forget he played for the Brewers because it was so short, but he was there. He played there.
Well, he pushed them into the playoffs the season that he was there. And you
Yeah.
also forget, and
He
this
had
I
three
just looked,
shutouts that season.
yeah,
He had three
and
shutouts in Milwaukee.
and I forgot about this, Sam, but I'm glad that I just looked it up. I forgot about this. I didn't realize that he pitched for the Yankees for 11 seasons. I thought
Yep.
he
And
pitched
that's
for
where everyone
St.
remembers
Louis.
him from.
Yeah,
Most importantly, where they remember him from is that 2009 World Series.
right, right.
That 2009 World Series was he was that was his year. He was fourth in Cy Young. I think he was he was somehow in the Hall of Fame. He was somehow in the MVP conversation. Don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
Um, but look, Cy Young Award winner, six-time All-Star, 2029 World Series champion, ALCS MVP, finishing his career in the pinstripes, and they loved him in New York. They
Yeah, 100%.
absolutely loved him.
Well, and I honestly, I just said St. Louis, I meant Cleveland, but yeah, I for some reason when at the beginning, I always equated him with the Cleveland back then, the Indians. But
Hmm.
no, he played 11 seasons with the Yankees, most of his career. So good for you, CC.
Yeah.
Um,
You
I
know,
I will say
re-
one thing about the
yeah.
strikeout, Sam. I'll say this. I'm looking at it up right now. He's got 3,093 strikeouts, which you have talked about. There's only three active players that are anywhere near him. Clayton Kershaw at 2968, who has yet to sign as of today, as of February 1st, he has yet to sign anywhere. And Justin Verlander is about 400 strikeouts in front of him. Max Scherzer is about 400 strikeouts in front of him. So there's only two other active players that are in front of him, one that's behind him. So he's 18th all time on the all time strikeout list. So this should be a
Yeah,
no
no,
brainer.
and that's incredible. And there's another stat that I just saw that I think is also really two two stats that I think are pretty impressive to highlight.
Okay.
He had 38 complete games in his entire career.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
He's a
know,
workhorse. He's a workhorse.
he that's an incredible number of complete games to have. Because there are some guys. I mean, look, Blake Snell, the most recent one of the most recent pitching acquisitions for the Dodgers, just pitched his first complete game of his entire career with the Giants last year. He had never pitched a complete game until last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is something that is pretty impressive. And the other one that's not super impressive, but I think is something just worth talking about is the fact that he had 12 shutouts of his entire career. 12 shutouts. He averaged almost one a year throughout his career.
Yep.
There are some pitchers that don't ever get a shutout in their
Yep.
entire career.
Yep.
So to get 12 of them, what an amazing accomplishment for him. Like, you know, hats off.
100%.
It also helped, I think, the fact that he pitched basically his entire career in the American League, minus the 1 year with Milwaukee. So I think it was pretty odd for him when he was in Milwaukee to have to get up the plate. He probably realized and he was like, "Nope, I need to go back to the American League. I am not a hitter. I do not should not be stepping into the batter's box. This is not a good look for me. Let's cut the cord, children. Let's cut the cord."
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
100%.
the next guy we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about Billy Wagner because we're going to save the superstar of the Hall of Fame lineup for last.
Yep.
Billy Wagner again. This is a guy that had that. I don't even know if he ever was a starter, but this man had 422 saves is in his entire career. Like he played 853 total games. He had 422 saves. He literally had 50% of his total games played was a save.
Uh-huh.
Meaning every other time he went out to the plate, he saved the game and won for their team. I mean,
Yeah.
that is unreal. Had almost 1,200 strikeouts. Had just below a 1.0 WHIP.
Yeah.
He finished his career with a 2.31 ERA, 47 wins, 40 losses. I mean, Bill, again, you're the pitching guru for us here at ATD and Top Fan Rivalry. We look
Okay.
to you for guidance when it comes to pitching.
Well,
What was it about Billy that made him so dangerous in that closer spot?
he threw hard. He threw hard. Um, Nowadays, pitchers mix it up, especially coming out of the pen. They mix it up. But I'm here to tell you, he threw hard. When you saw that bullpen gate open, he had a good career, a very good career in Houston. For some reason, I think of him as a Met. He had a dynamic career with the Mets. In fact, he had 101 saves with the Mets, although he did get 205 with the Astros. But he threw hard, and he was a left-hander. Not a lot of closers are left-handers, and not a lot of them throw 100 miles an hour. That's what makes him dynamic.
Yeah, you know, just to hear it from you, it becomes even more impressive.
Yeah,
9 year career in Houston, 4 years in with the Metropolitans, two in Philly, one in Atlanta, one in Boston. I mean, what is this? He had just in his 9 year career with Houston, he had just shy of 700 strikeouts
yeah.
in his 9 year career with the Houston Astros at the time. I mean, what an incredible feat, and more importantly, what a great uniform. Like this is a great uniform. I'm sorry if you're listening to this on Bleacher Brothers Radio, you can't see it, but that uniform was a great uniform. They never should have gotten rid of it. They should go back to it. It was such a classic. I can't wait till they do a throwback. Big Dave, throw your weight around out there in Houston and make them bring back this
Big
uniform
Dave
because
throws
this
weight
is a
around.
great freaking
You
uniform.
don't know what you're asking when you're asking Big Dave throws weight around.
If you know Big Dave, you know what you're getting when you ask him to throw his weight around.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, B, I think you said something really valuable, just a second ago. Left-handers aren't known for throwing super hard, especially in the closing role. Why was he able to take advantage of that?
So Sam is showing a picture. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll understand what I'm going to say here. But um, if you're not watching on YouTube, go to the top10rivalry.com, go into the locker room. You'll see it there. You also see it on YouTube. Um, but Sam for a right-hander, most right-handers have very traditional windups and deliveries, with the exception of Rogers and a few others.
Mm.
The pitcher that you're showing right now is why he was so good. He hit the ball so well. So Sam's got a picture up of Billy Wagner getting ready to release the ball. And if you're a batter, you can't see that grip or the ball until it's coming right at you. So he did a really, really good job at hiding the ball. And
Hmm.
that's where your success level goes, is hiding that ball. So yeah.
Makes no, and that makes total sense. I mean, they always tell you as a batter, you've got a split second between release
Hmm.
and that ball being in front of you to figure out if you're swinging or hitting.
If you're, yeah, exactly.
So to take to take almost a quarter of that time away between release and determination is hard. It's really it makes your job even harder as a hitter. So, it's so impressive when pitchers are able to find ways of making it more challenging for the batter. I mean, as a batter, you've already got a hard job. You have to hit a ball this big with a bat this long.
Mhm.
It's not easy, but to have the even more difficult challenge of not being able to have any visual on what the ball could be, what could be thrown at you until it's too late, it it's really, really impressive.
Yeah,
So,
it
you
is.
know,
It is.
again, Billy, seven-time All-Star, played on a number of teams, Phillies, Mets, Houston, Atlanta, Boston. He's got plenty of jerseys, I'm sure, at this point, covering his walls for all the teams he
Yeah.
played for. But he is officially a Hall of Famer. Um, he was getting towards the end of his
This was his last
eligibility.
season.
Yeah, this was his last year of eligibility going
Yeah.
in, so you know, super kudos to him. And now we get to the highlight of the Hall of Fame class.
Mhm.
We're talking about a man that had a 19-year career, majority of which was with the Seattle Mariners. As a right fielder, this man put up 11 hits shy of 3,100 hits. He had 1,420 runs. He had 780 RBIs. I mean, he ended his career with a 311 batting average, 509 stolen bases, an OBP at 355, a 402 slug, uh, a 757 OPS, and a 60 WAR. He had a 60 WAR. I mean, that number alone is thinking impressive. I mean, forget everything else. 60 WAR,
Well,
which is just insane.
so
And
I
one other quick thing, he was 66 at bats shy of 10,000 career at bats. 10,000. He could have played a quarter of a season and then retired from the Mariners a quarter of the way through his last, through 2020. I mean, actually, 2020 would have been the perfect year for him to do it because he probably would have only had 100 at bats in the, you know, anyway. But Ichiro Suzuki has finally gotten his nod. First time on the ballot, making it to the Hall of Fame. Bill, tell me your thoughts.
so other numbers. His first 10 seasons in the league. So 01 to 2011, games played 157, 157, 159, 161, 162, 161, 161, 162, 146, 162, and 161. If that doesn't impress you, the first or 10 seasons hits 242, 208, 212, 262. 206, 240, or 224, 238, 213, 225, 214, and 184. So if that doesn't impress you, I don't know what else you're supposed to be impressed by. I mean, you're talking about what is that, 9 years in a row where he had more than 200 hits? Show me somebody else that does that.
Yeah. I mean, in his first 10 years, he had 4 complete seasons he basically played. And the other ones, the majority of which he missed by just a couple of games. And then and then he was, a little injured in '09 where he only played 146. But
Yeah,
still, man basically played complete seasons every year from '01 to 2012. And then after that, that's when he kind of started to, dip and dive a little bit here and there. He had a short stint in New York. He had a short stint in Miami, which I don't think anyone sees as making any sense why he would go to Miami, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. And then coming back to, Seattle, signing, really, really minute contracts, barely played, was really like a filler guy if needed, wasn't, he was there for the face, but still got his at bats when they needed him. Um, you know, this is a guy that personified excellence on the field.
okay, so let me ask you this question. Let me test your knowledge with Ichiro here. Ichiro is number 25 all time on the hits record with 3,089 total hits. There is only four people in the top 25 that aren't in the Hall of Fame yet. Now, one of them is easy, and I'm sure you'll get that. Two of them are not eligible yet because they haven't been retired for 5 years, and one was on the ballot this season. Can you name the other four that are not, without looking it up, can you name the other four that are on the
No, I
top?
can't tell you. I'm assuming one of them is Pete Rose, and unfortunately, that man will never get let into the Hall of Fame, which is the biggest crying shame on the planet.
Yes, Pete Rose is obviously
And
number
that again is a whole nother story you and I could have for a whole nother day.
100%. All right, you ready for the others? The other three?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Theo Albert Pujols at number 10,
Okay, well,
3384.
he'll be a first ballot. I don't see. There is no question Albert Pujols will be a first ballot guy.
100%. 100%. Miguel Cabrera,
Okay,
3,174. He'll be a first ballot as well.
yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
then
yeah, he
the
will be. I mean, he's Miguel Cabrera. He'll be a first ballot.
and then the other one was Alex Rodriguez. And there's a massive
And there's
debate
a
about
lot
that.
of look. There's a lot of controversy with him. That's a man that may never make it to the Hall of Fame.
That's true. He'll get in the Veterans Committee years from now.
Yeah.
Years from now.
And
So,
when we
yep.
say years, we mean he'll be on his deathbed before they let him in.
Hopefully. So,
I I think the thing with A-Rod, real quick, is that he had an attitude that didn't rub well with the
what's up?
media, and that goes to, you know that again, we could have an entire conversation about how the voting for the Hall of Fame is so one-sided and so unreal. Like, it is the worst period voting pool period of people that make the selections ever. Period.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
The
100%.
writers have to determine if you make it into the Hall of Fame is the grossest misconduct to the sport ever.
Probably a lot to do with that. So, okay, so we've spent 25 minutes on the Hall of Fame. Let's move
Well,
on, Sam.
well, hold on. There was one thing we did want to talk about
Okay.
with Ichiro.
Oh yeah. Yes.
How like how could this man not be a unanimous vote into the Hall of Fame? Can someone explain this to me? Like, what did this man do to miss by one vote to be unanimous? One. A
Okay.
singular vote made him a non-unanimous pick. Why?
So I'm going to give you my take on that. I'm going to give you my take on that. I think whoever that sports writer is going to retire at some point, and he's going to write a book that's entitled "Why I Did Not Make Ichiro Unanimous." And he's gonna no, I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. This guy is probably gonna get a couple $1 million advance. This guy is, or this guy or gal, whoever it is, I guarantee you that's because why else would you not vote for Ichiro? Unless you were
I
sick in
would
the hospital and you didn't return your ballot. But why would you not vote for Ichiro unless that was your cash cow? Sammy, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me, tell me if you wanted to cash out and you had a chip on your shoulder, let's say, and I don't know who this person is. I don't know if they have a chip on their shoulder, but let's say you had a chip on your shoulder and you were planning on retiring in 8 years. You're going to keep your job. Guess what? In 8 years, 9 years, you're going to write a book about why you didn't vote for Ichiro. Does that make sense?
yeah, I guess my feeling is though is true baseball purists are not buying that. I would never buy that book. I
That
wouldn't
was my
give that guy
question.
a dime. I wouldn't give that guy a dime. Are you kidding me?
That was my question.
And
And
if you're a Mariners fan, you're a Mariners fan and that book comes out, I would buy every copy just to burn them in front of the guy's house. Are you nuts?
yay, but see,
Are
here's the
you
thing.
nuts?
Here's the thing. That's what he wants. Like, it's perfect marketing. You know what? I can understand why this guy would do this, right? If this is what you want, and then
That's
you make the
ridiculous.
book a must read. You go on every TV show, talk show that will take you, right? And even if you absolutely hate the fact of it, you may see something or hear something on a talk show and say, "Dang it, I'm going to spend the $19 to read the book." It's
I'm
going to
going to tell you
happen.
this. If that guy goes on MLB, I'm going to tell you this. If that guy goes on MLB Network and they call him on and ask him why, they better blur his face out because he's going to be hated just as much as Angel Hernandez was hated throughout his entire umpiring career.
I'm just telling you.
That's a guy that
You asked
that
me
is a
what
guy
I
that
thought
will never
happened.
see the umpiring hall. That was the guy that will never see the Hall of Fame. Angel
Yeah,
Hernandez, if Angel Hernandez got a singular vote for the Hall of Fame, I would be dumbfounded.
yeah, yeah.
You know who's gonna vote for Angel Hernandez? The guy that didn't vote for Ichiro. That's the guy that's gonna vote for Angel Hernandez to make it into the Hall of Fame as an umpire.
But you asked why. Does that not make sense, Sam?
I mean, yeah, it does. I think it's the biggest load of crock in the business, but it does make sense. It does.
Listen, if I want to cash out and I want generational money, if I were a publishing house, I'd give that guy a couple $1 million advance because I know I can put him on every TV show and I know I can sell a couple 100,000 of those books
Yeah, I
because
get it. But
baseball
like,
peers are going to want to know why this guy didn't vote for this guy. Help me understand why.
well, it should be a real short book because if this guy tries to make like a 300-page book out of the one singular reason he didn't vote for Ichiro, guy is guy is on something.
The guy's going to tell us
I mean,
about
they
his
got some
life.
good stuff out there in Seattle, so he could be on some pretty good stuff. I don't know what hallucinogenic he's taking, but
Listen, the guy's going to tell us about his life, how he grew up, how he got cut from his high school baseball team or whatever it is. That's 3 chapters right there.
he didn't get asked. He didn't get asked to the prom by his high school sweetheart.
Yeah, yeah. Or she had a headache when they were driving home or whatever. I mean, that's 3 chapters right there of this thing. But you know what's coming out, Sam.
Maybe found out it was his cousin.
In our yeah, exactly. In our lifetime, you know what's coming out. Come on. Anyways, all
Yeah,
right.
it's probably
What
will.
what do we got next?
But yeah, Ichiro. Final comments: Ichiro, MVP winner, Rookie of the Year, 10-time All Star, 10-time Golden Glove Award winner,
Yeah.
3-time Silver Slugger, Merit AS MVP, 2-time batting title. Ichiro, you should have been unanimous. The fact that you wasn't is a crying shame. But in our hearts, there's no question you were the unanimous pick into the Hall of Fame.
Okay, I just want to
Deserved
get this
on
on
the
record, people. Sam didn't say the fact that you weren't. He said the fact that you wasn't. So I just want to get that on
yeah,
record.
the
The
fact that
fact
you
that you wasn't.
weren't
He said
unanimous is a
wasn't.
crying
Yeah, right. Anyways, fly Eagles fly. Woo woo.
shame. But
In your
hey,
household, they're
on
saying
the
that.
road to victory. Eh, all you Chiefs fans, keep it to yourself. I don't care.
Yeah,
We got a big player on the move in the last 2 weeks. There
yeah,
was a big player on the move in the last 2 weeks.
yeah.
Max Scherzer signs a 1 year, $15.5 million contract with the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, this man has found a way to get paid by four teams at the same time to play for Toronto. I
Yeah.
mean, the Mets are paying him, the Dodgers are paying him, the Rangers are paying him, and now Toronto is paying him. And this is a man that cannot complete a season and yet
Yeah,
is still getting paid in the double-digit million-dollar pool.
yeah.
Bill, why?
I don't know.
Just why?
Honestly, I don't know. The guy's 40 years old. We already talked about this. He's got 216 wins. He's got over 3,000 strikeouts. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame. The second that he retires, he's going to go into the Hall of Fame. Um, I personally don't know why.
Well, maybe not the second he retires. He still has to wait 5 years.
Well,
Fine.
the second that he's eligible,
He has to wait 7 years,
All
but that's
Star,
beside.
three-time Cy Young Award winner,
Yeah.
two-time World Series champion. Like I honestly don't know. I don't know why he. I don't. I don't know why he's still playing. He won one with Washington. He won one with Texas. I don't know why he's still. What else do you have to prove, dude? Unless you don't like your family, go home. It's okay. Go hang out with your kids. Walk them to school. Sign autographs for the kids as you're walking them to school. I mean, he's made $351 million in his career. If you can't live on that, I don't get it. But I don't know what he has left to prove. This is decent for Toronto, though. It gives them a number 3 or 4 starter. So that's all I'm going to say on that
Yeah.
one.
I mean, no, and I agree with you. I mean, look, in the last, since 2019, he hasn't had above 15 wins. The
Mhm,
last time he had 15 wins was in 2021,
mhm,
and he had to play for two teams that year in
mhm.
2021.
Yep.
So he couldn't even get 15 wins with one team. He had to play for two.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And see,
That, like, already. And then again, he had to play for two teams in 2023 just to get to 13 wins.
yeah. I mean, again,
And
last
four of
season
them,
he made $43 million. This season he's making less than half of that. So at this point,
he
it's just
played 9 games last year and made $40 million.
$43 million. Yeah.
Like, like, so I think, Bill, here's a good question I have for you. And this kind of goes to the money factor of it.
Yeah.
Is it is it bad for baseball to fully guarantee contracts to players?
No.
Or
Okay.
should there be the ability for the teams to retain certain amounts of money should they not hit certain marks? Like,
Yeah,
think of it in
that's
football related. In football, you have incentives if you hit certain numbers. You, as a
yeah.
defender, you have an incentive if you hit a certain number of sacks. As a receiver, you have an incentive if you hit a certain number of receptions or a certain number of yards. Do you think in baseball it would be valuable for teams as players start to get older that they put more restrictions on certain contracts if they're not able to hit certain
No,
basic basic
no,
benchmark requirements?
no. So on the back end, they insure these contracts. And that's what held up a Clayton Kershaw contract a couple of years ago, where the insurance companies wouldn't insure it. So the Dodgers had to insure it on their own. The Texas Rangers did not insure Jacob deGrom's contract. That was a bad move. So Jacob deGrom is picking splinters out of his tail feathers, and they have to pay him. Uh, I do not, because what could happen, okay, and I'm not going to say it's going to happen. I'm not saying that baseball is like a college bookstore, because college bookstores are, I swear, college bookstores are like ran by the mafia, right? You buy a book for $100, You sell it back for 25, they resell it for $80. I I mean, and I was in college 20 years ago, right? And so, but
And think
they're
of all the money that the writers of those books are making every time those books are
100%,
resold over and over and
100%,
over and over again.
100%. So, no, I
I
don't.
just started I just started borrowing my friend's book and copying the pages. I would just take it to the copy machine. I would just copy the chapters I needed for that week, and I would just read that. I
Yeah,
wouldn't even
I,
buy
if
the
I
book
was, if
anymore.
I was your friend, I'd be like, "You're buying dinner tonight, dude. You're borrowing my book. You're buying
It's
dinner."
fine. I would rather spend $10 and buy him a pizza than spend $80 for a book I'm going to keep for 8 weeks and then only make back maybe $10 on there. Are you kidding me? I'd rather just give him the $10 to get
Preach,
7 chapters
preach,
worth of reading out of it. Are you kidding me? That was great. It was a
preach.
perfect. It was a match made in heaven.
Okay, so here's the thing, is I honestly think if you did that, you would have an issue because ownership might have an issue. And I mean, what's to say that you and I don't own the Reds, right? And Max is pitching for us, and we've got a $17 million contract where only 12 of it's guaranteed, five of it's incentive based, and all of a sudden we're telling the manager in the dugout only let him throw 4 innings. We're worried about his arm. Only let him throw 4 innings. We don't want him to hurt himself. Yet we're not going to put him in a position where he can hit that. I mean, it's just dangerous. Both sides are dangerous. So
I hear that, but I also think it it does put some ownership on the player to perform at the highest level possible. I mean, think about it. If you're on the brink of hitting, if you've got 10 games left in the season and you're a pitcher that needs to get 12 more strikeouts
mhm.
to finish to hit your incentive, you're going to go out there and give it your heart
Yep.
every day. You
And
know,
and what's to say that George Steinbrenner type of owner wouldn't say, "Don't let him pitch today. We want to bring up this rookie and see if he can actually pitch against the Red Sox or the Orioles or whatever."
I hear that. I mean, yeah, it's dangerous on both sides, but I do think it is something that I have never been a huge advocate for the fully guarantees on baseball contracts. I think it sets a really bad precedent, especially if you're a player that gets injured halfway through your contract. Like, let's just say Shohei Ohtani breaks his arm or shatters his arm and can no longer play baseball halfway through his $700 million contract. Well, now you guys are on the hook for all of that, and he can't do anything for you. And granted, you're making the money in the incentive pools and everything that the Dodgers have done to ensure that they're going to have high quality on it, but you've now also lost 5 years worth of profit on Shohei, being the fact that he can't play baseball anymore. Now, obviously, I don't want that to happen, but it's something to keep in mind.
Hmm?
It's just something to
100,
think about. If he can't play
100%.
baseball anymore, you're not going to keep selling his jersey because
Mhm.
he's not playing.
Yeah, 100%.
So, as we talk about players on the move, we're also going to talk about some of the big free agent signings that happened in the last 2.5 weeks. Bill, we got a list of, what is it, 10 players on this list. We're not going to go through each and every single one of them, but give me your two players that make sense with their signing and the one player that doesn't.
Tanner Scott makes sense as a Dodger closer. The Dodgers needed a closer. Um, Anthony Santander makes sense over in Toronto because let's face it, they're going to need some bats if they lose Vladimir Guerrero and Bo Bichette. The one that I didn't anticipate, I thought Han Kim would go to more of a team that was more of a contender, although I like him with the Rays. So there you go.
Yeah, I think I like Profar to the Braves. I think that's a good move for them. I think they needed, another big hitter, and I think Profar will give them that over the next 3 years. Um, I agree with you. Actually, I like the Anthony Santander to the Toronto move over 5 years. That team is gonna be going through a lot of changes in the next 18 to 24 months with not knowing what's going on with Vladdy, not knowing what's going on with Bo Bichette, kind of revamping their pitching market. So I think getting a guy like Santander who they can lock up for 5 years and kind of use as a as a sliding face over this uncertainty and unknown is kind of a good thing. But I also agree with you. Ha-Seong came to the Rays. You would have thought he'd go to a team that even if they may not make it, had a better shot of competing for it. Because I don't see the Rays competing for anything in the next 2 years. Nothing. The Rays are going to be the Rockies of the American League East. That's just what they're gonna be.
Hmm. Okay.
Still some free agent signings out there. I think I'm just gonna pick out the two that are the most like, or the three that are the most like, what the heck?
Yep.
Pete Alonso, what is going on? Like, give me the 30-second version of what is going through Pete Alonso's head that he's just not picking a team to sign with.
2 words. Scott Boras.
Perfect. We don't even need to say anything else because that man is like the devil in sheep's clothing in baseball. Alex Bregman,
Scott Boras.
what like is this man ever gonna sign?
Scott Boras.
Okay. And then the last guy, your guy, Jack Flaherty. He's not a Dodger anymore. Dodgers aren't bringing him back. Where do you see this man going? Because at this point, we're kind of
Back.
running into Blake Snell territory, like we did Blake Snell and Montgomery territory, like last year. Like you don't have much time, and you got to get signed before spring training. Otherwise, you're never going to be good in the season. So where is he going?
Back to Detroit. Detroit can use him.
I can see that. I could also see, honestly, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he wouldn't be bad to, but again, Pittsburgh's not going to be competitive. They may be competitive this season, but Detroit's got a better opportunity to be.
That's fair. All right. So the final topic of discussion we have for today is, free agency and everything is basically winding down. We just saw the last couple of teams that are on there. If you're listening to this on Bleacher Brothers Radio, make sure you get to the YouTube channel so you can see who we're talking about as who are still remaining free agents and who has signed. But right now, we're talking about what teams this offseason have regressed. What teams had the opportunity to go out, sign someone that could make a difference on their team, and the team basically said, "We don't want to do nothing."
So, so I think you have 3 teams that have regressed. Now, if you're asking Sam what teams have done nothing, obviously Miami, Colorado, the White Sox, right? I mean, remember the White Sox could win 20 more games this season than they did last season, and they're still going to lose 100 freaking games. It's
Yeah.
insane. But there's 3 teams that I feel like have regressed because they've lost players. Houston has lost Justin Verlander, Mr. Kate Upton. They've also lost Kyle Tucker. They got back prospects. Cam Smith's going to be really good at third base. They still don't know. You've already mentioned Alex Bregman. Baltimore lost Corbin Burns. Baltimore lost Anthony Santander. They were right there. They were competing last year. They were 91 and 71. They were competing, but they're not like they regress. They haven't picked up that pace. Look for Baltimore to come in fourth or fifth place. Look for the Yankees to compete with the Red Sox, maybe Toronto or Tampa Bay in that mix, but look for Baltimore to drop significantly just on the moves. Now, they do have a lot of young talent, so that could change. The other team that I'm going to say has regressed, uh, partially because they just are just kind of out there, right? Is the Texas Rangers. Texas Rangers have not made any significant signings. Just talked about Max Scherzer. He gone. And yeah, I'm dropping the mic on that. So Rangers, Orioles, and Astro fans, don't at me. I'm just, and again, this is why the game's not played on paper. The Dodgers, picked up a bunch of people, but it doesn't mean anything. The games aren't played on paper. Dodgers could have a bunch of injuries and end up 51 and 111. Who knows? So
Dodger
let
fans, make sure you are adding Baseball Bill
uh,
after this comment. Make sure you are blowing up his Instagram message board with how dare you say our Dodgers are not going to get hurt.
yeah,
As a
I'm just
Dodgers
saying that they get
fan,
hurt. Sam, same question to you. Give me a 90-second version of teams that you felt like regressed.
90 seconds, still got a
Yep.
little bit of time. When I'm looking at the teams that regressed, I'm looking at teams that were strong and rather than getting stronger, did nothing. And with the way this game is changing, you've now got players getting older, but you're not putting better pieces around certain players to make them improve. And I think the two teams I'm specifically looking at are the San Diego Padres and the Philadelphia Phillies.
Okay.
The Phillies are just getting older,
Okay.
and they're not, yes, they've got Bryson Stott, and yes, they've got, I mean, you've got Bryce Harper, and if you have Bryce Harper, you can't say you're out of it. You've still got Nick Castellanos. You've got Alec Bohm, but at the same time, these guys are just getting older, and eventually, they're gonna be figured out if you're the Phillies.
Yep.
You can't just run on pure heart and emotion from your city's fan base year over year. The fans want to see you guys getting all, while you still have high marquee players, they still want to see you getting younger. And they want to see you bringing in new talent that's going to keep the excitement going. And if you're not consistently bringing in that excitement, the fan base is not going to be behind you. They just won't. And especially in a place like Philly that I live 10 minutes from the stadium, I can tell you now, if a month into the season they are below 500, that fan base is going to be reaming into the players. They just will be. No ifs, ands, or buts about it because they don't care. They want to win now. That's it. They've had the opportunity over the last 4 years to win now, and they haven't done it. And this year, when they had their chance to truly improve their team to get there, they did nothing this offseason. Nothing. So if I are you, I would do something in this last 2 weeks before spring training to bring some excitement to your team because from one baseball fan to another, right now you are not looking good. And if you're the Padres, you did less than nothing. You did absolutely less than nothing. You gave the farm away. Not only did you give the farm away, you have no money to even put into the team because you have like $300 million contracts on players that are average, that are slightly above average at this point. They have not done enough over the last 2 years. Yeah, did they have an incredible season last year? Absolutely. But you just gave away like 4 of your players this year and got no value in return for it. You had the opportunity to trade Fernando Tatis to the Yankees and bring up an exceptional amount of youth and prospects, and you didn't do it. And now the Yankees aren't even going to look at you with the 10-foot freaking pole. So, I mean, if you're the Padres, get a TV deal and get yourselves back on television because if you don't and you don't get some money in your pocket, you guys, I wouldn't want to be a Padres fan in the next 2 to 3 years because I'll tell you now, the storm is coming and it's not going to look good. It just isn't.
There's some truth to that. There's some truth to that.
I, you know, I and being a Giants fan, look,
You had it right the first time.
stop it. Being a Giants fan, I welcome the competition. Even Bill will say this. We want to compete against the best in the West. Day in and day out. We want to prove that the NL West is the best division in baseball. It has been for years. It will always have a name of being the best division in baseball. But if the Padres don't get their act together, they're going to be back where they were 10 years ago, being on the short end of every stick.
Yep.
And it's going to be a competition between the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Diamondbacks, and the Rockies and the Padres fighting for last place.
True.
Just saying. That's my word on it.
That's true. That's very true.
Woo, that was a passionate rant, man. I got to take a breath. Bill, and
You
me
had a
needing,
rant? I don't believe it.
Bill, and me needing to take a breath, I'm going to grab a sip of water here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the top fan schedule coming up this week?
Yep. So we got Ashley. Obviously, on Mondays, it's always going to be American League with Ashley. She's a Detroit Tigers fan. She is awesome. It is an awesome show. We talked about pitchers. We talked about catching, the art of catching pitchers, favorite pitches, things like that. Nick's a new guest of the clubhouse. The last dive bar is supposed to be on this week. They're guests in the clubhouse every other week. We are having Can of Corn with Dave every other week. Besides that is Unraveling Baseball with Mike. And then on Friday, I believe we have the World Series edition, but we're just wrapping that up.
Gonna keep it a surprise for the fan base out there. We want to, keep you on your toes, keep you itching for a feeling of what's coming. On X every Tuesday, at least until the end of football season, which is in another week and a half. Make sure you are checking out X while TFR has Megan and Bill talking all things football related. Talking the Super Bowl this week, so definitely want to check that out. And every Thursday, TFR, it's sports talk, it's fan involved, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Bring your favorite sports to the game. We'll talk about it. This Wednesday, make sure you are at noon Eastern Standard Time, right, Bill? I'm not getting that wrong.
Noon Pacific.
Noon Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you are checking out TopFanRivalry.com for the drop of the upcoming Top Fan Rivalry Heads Up Sports Collab Baseball Card Break. I'm going to find a better name for that because that is just way too long of a name. We are breaking 2020 Don Russ Hobby Box, 204 amazing cards. We're going to be looking out for Shohei Ohtani, Acuna, Yordan, Bo Bichette, Lou Bob. This is an amazing product. It's actually one of my favorite products.
Lou Bob.
I'm so happy that Bill and Mike at Heads Up have started this collaboration and are doing this every other week. So always remember the drop will happen the Wednesday before the break, 9 days before, 9 innings in between. You want to make sure you get there. Spots go quick. And with looking out for Shohei and Acuna, I can tell you now, this is a break you are not going to want to miss. Mike always pulls fire out of the Don Russ product, so you want to make sure you are on this one. Bill, pricing. What's the pricing going to look like between this?
So we just got the pricing model figured out. That will be up on the website tomorrow. Or I'm sorry, it'll be up on the website on Wednesday. They range anywhere from $5 to $25, depending on the team and what you can pull there. So I mean, obviously, 3 autograph cards are memorable, or memorabilia cards are great. So since we've wrapped this show up, just let me tell you real quick. First of all, we want to thank Bleacher Brothers Sports Network for having us on. A lot of different things are happening with Top Fan. We'll announce more of them. If you're in the Southern California area, February 21st, we rented out the top deck of Ruby's Diner. We are going to show a baseball movie. It is dinner in a movie right across the street from the Pacific Ocean, right there on PCH. It's a phenomenal thing. And then the next day, the very next day, we have our first ever Top Fan Rivalry Cornhole Tournament in Anaheim, right by Anaheim Stadium. So if you're in the Southern California area, it's $20 burger, fry, and drink. If you just do that, if you want to play cornhole, team of 2 is $20. If you want to do both events for a team of 2 and 2 dinner and movies, bada bing, it's $50 instead of $60. So Sam, thanks for a great episode.
That is a steal.
Today.
That is a
And
steal. It makes me
yes, it
regret
is.
living on the East Coast, so I can't be there for it.
Yes. But we appreciate everybody being on, and we will see you next week. Sam, what's your signature sign off line?
No, you got to give yours first, Bill. I can't. I can't end this like you
Okay.
did.
Go fight, win.
Go fight, win. Thank you so much for joining us this week on ATD. We are gonna get this all figured out, and we will see you on the field in 2 weeks or next week. Next week.
Next week.